Good evening everyone. Welcome, welcome all. We'll start at 8 p.m. sharp. Yeah. We have our first guest. Yeah, welcome all. We'll start the session. Uh, the session is on articleship. That is always a question mark as to whether it should be big four or it should be mid-size firm, small firm, or it should be industrial training. Should industrial training be part of it? Correct. So, good evening, Sonal. Good evening, everyone. So, we thought, why not get on board those people who have underwent that? So, we have Shraddha, who has done her articleship from Big Four. Then we have Omkar Gargil sir, who is running a mid-size firm, as well as he has done his articleship from mid-size firm, as well as we also have uh, Mayank Khaitan, who has done industrial training. So they will be able to share exactly like what are the advantages of doing articleship from a big four. That's number one. Like Shraddha will share about. Yeah, welcome Shraddha. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Shiva sir, and good evening to everyone who's attending this session.
Yes.
Am I audible
Uh,
clearly and am I visible?
yes. Perfectly visible, perfectly audible, and the voice of a lioness is like lioness roaring. Yeah. So welcome, Shraddha, and thank you for taking out time on a busy weekday. So thank you for coming and highlighting the, you can say, advantages of joining Big Four and what they have to take care of. So over to you. And Shraddha will do a small introduction about herself and start with Big Four advantages, the precautions to be taken, that's a points to be taken care of. And finally, you can ask question answers to her. So over to Shraddha. And we also have Omkar Gadgil sir here. So he will talk about mid-size firm. So let's start with Shraddha first. All is yours,
Thank.
Shraddha.
Sorry, I missed the last thing.
I said all is yours. You are on board
Okay,
now.
thank you. So thank you, Shiva sir, and thank you, Team Mensa, for having me here. Uh, before I start on the articleship piece, a little bit of introduction about myself. My name is Shraddha, as introduced by Shiva sir, and I cleared my chartered accountancy in May 2018. Um, as he mentioned that I did my articleship from Big Four. To be specific, I did it from KPMG, and I was in their audit department. I throughout from class 11 to CA final, I did all my all my classes at Mensa, and I don't think I regret because I cleared all my exams in the first attempt, and I'm sure a lot has to do with the kind of support system that you get in your coaching classes. So I don't regret that decision. So, so typically, I'm sure a lot of you who are attending this session are at a stage where you want to decide whether you want to go, what kind of articleship exposure that you are looking for. So here I am to share my experience with you all. I would just like to highlight that everyone has their own experience, their own preferences, their own methods of learning and working. So while you can take a couple of inputs from me, I would highly recommend that the final decision is completely yours and you should do what works best for you. What works best for me may not work best for you, and what works best for you may not be the right thing for me. So, so let me start with why I went on to join a Big Four. So, since the beginning, I kind of knew that I wanted to be a part of a corporate setup, and Big Four exposes you to such a setup at a very young age in your career, and that really helped me at that point of time. Um, after I cleared and after I moved out of Big Four, the kind of opportunities that opened up for me in that domain was, I think unparalleled. So one of the major advantages that you experience by working in a Big Four is they are very structured. They groom you for handling bigger clients, for handling listed companies, and for it also helps a lot to build your interpersonal skills. I mean, at a given point of time, maybe you are interacting with 10 different people from 10 different departments. We generally come straight out of college, we don't have that much of an exposure at all. So it really opens up a completely new world, and a lot of people, they thrive in such a world. So if you are that kind of a person who loves this setup, this big setup wherein you work with multiple partners, you have marquee clients, and obviously there's a lot of learning also that comes with all this. So if you really like that setup, then I think Big Four is a very good choice for you. So this is one major advantage that Big Four offers you. Now the second thing that that I had in my mind while going in for a Big Four was, I mean, a lot of us have this question: audit versus tax. And a lot of people are very clear in their mind that I want to do audit or I want to do tax. Okay, so in a Big Four, the only thing is that you become a niche person. Like if I, for example, I choose audits. If I choose audit, then I'm not going to be a tax person. So if you are very clear in your mind that this is what you want to do, this is the field that you want to pursue going ahead, then you can go for a Big Four. The Big Four will definitely offer you a platform to build that skill set in that niche area. So that's a very big advantage that you get by joining a Big Four organization. Another, I think, beautiful learnings that I had in Big Four was post-qualification opportunities. I think I already mentioned that. Another thing I also mentioned about audit. Yeah, I mean, this might sound very cliche, but there is a certain tag that comes with Big Four. And it really helps after you qualify, whenever you attend your campus or you attend your, if you go out for your job interviews. I'm not talking about just the mere tag, but a lot of times the interactions that you have had with your clients, the maybe the volume of work and transactions that you would have handled, it definitely gives you a certain boost when you are opting for an interview with probably a large MNC or a big corporate organization. So that's a very big advantage that a Big Four gives you. At least it gave me. Well, but everything might sound very hunky dory, but every coin has a flip side. But it depends on which are the bullets that you are actually willing to bite. Like, for example, I mean, you must have heard that Big Fours have long working hours, and yes, that is correct. They have long working hours. And if you are that kind of a person who thrives in such an environment, then I think Big Four is a good pick for you. But if you are that kind of a person, you're like, no, I can't put in 12 hours a day and then manage my study and then, go to college. I'm sure a lot of you have to, are doing your graduation as well along with your CA course. So, well, yeah, there are a lot of challenges that come with it because there are multiple items on your plate at all the time, and at any given point of time, you have to prioritize. So it's possible that sometimes managers might just ask you that, there's a deadline here and I want you to work. But sometimes you just have to say that, look, I have my class, I have to attend, because ultimately, unless you have that degree in your hand, whatever experience you have, it's not going to help. So that is something that you have to manage. So if you are up for this management, then at least I was up for it. I was very clear in my mind that this is what I wanted to do, and there was a certain willingness that pushed me to do it. So that's the reason Big Four worked really well for me. But something that I really made sure that I used to attend classes pretty regularly, because when you actually enter into your study leave and you have to study the whole thing from scratch, you know how the portion is. I mean, I don't have to explain how big the portion is, how vast it is, and the breadth of subjects is really, I think it's very difficult to cover in that study leave period. If you are that kind of a person who, who likes to study in this 1 month, 2 months, you can do a nice stint and, pull it off. It's different. Generally, my experience of seeing me and a few of my friends who studied with me was that you take, a considerable amount of time to cover the whole breadth in for once. And then obviously you will want to revise again before your finals as well. So if you want to do all this, then you got to make sure that, you've completed quite a bit of your portion before your articleship, before your study leave begins. So yeah, these are a few things that according to me you should, think about it, whether you want to go to a big four. Definitely there are pluses. Obviously, anything you do, you'll always have some minuses, but it's depending on your interests and, what is more important for you. Whether the advantages are what that matter to you and you're okay to live with the disadvantages, then it's fine. I mean, it's completely a personal decision. Personally, I think I don't regret my decision of going to a big four. It completely suited my requirements, and I'm very glad that, I did that 3 years, and it has offered me a lot of opportunities. Even by when I was in the big four, and also when I left big four, I was a completely different person. So if you have any specific questions, then please feel free to ask on my experience, or if you feel that if I haven't covered something, then please let me know. I'm happy to cover. Okay, I can't see questions, so I think everyone is joining the big four after their IPCC. It looks like it.
Shraddha, I think there was one question. I'm just looking for it.
Okay.
Mm, Somewhere I just saw.
Sorry. I am also searching in case I skipped any question.
Yeah, who's this one? There's one. I mean, this ID with a pseudo name, Mr. Innocent. He just said hello, sir. I have a doubt, and I don't know what what did he
Yeah,
say
he
there.
hasn't posted his doubt. Hmm.
Yeah, I
I
think.
think no
Yeah,
one has any questions as such.
there is somebody. Amok is saying
So,
if we
okay,
are
if
not
we are
clear
not,
on.
sorry, if we are not clear on our line of interest, is Big Four advisable? So, see, I mean, generally, I mean, depends on what you want to do after your CA. Okay, so generally, there are people who want to start their own setup and, who want to get that exposure of working with smaller mid-sized clients. Then, mid-sized generally a preferable option for you. What are your clear in a line of interest? I mean, audit or tax, right? Is that the question?
I
Then
think that is how where it is coming from.
see, typically, if that's the case, then, mid-size is a better pick for you, because better, you don't want to go to big four and then suppose you select audit and then you realize that I don't like audit, and, you're just taking a transfer and everything. You don't want to get into that mess at all. So if you
Correct.
are not clear, then, at least think about what you might have some liking towards some subject. So think about it. Don't take a short, blind shot. If you are absolutely not clear, then it's better to remain a generalist and try everything before you move on to become a specialist. You can always join a big four even after you clear also. The doors are always open. So the option's always there for you.
Yeah, I think somebody also asked if the outstation audits would affect the studies and classes and like some things on that.
Uh See, outstation, I was lucky that I didn't have too many outstation audits. But yes, it does come with a couple of caveats when you are on outstation audits, and if you are attending real classes, then you might have to cover up later on. So, but I mean, it's not that you can't do it. Okay, I mean, just don't think that this is a big no. There are a lot of people who work outstation, and they maybe take recorded lectures or something, and they figure out something for themselves. So it's not that it's not possible. So I did not, I mean, thankfully, or I mean, I think I had one outstation audit, but that was for a very short period of time, and I could pretty much cover that up later on. So, if you ask me personally, no, it did not affect my studies and classes.
Okay. So I think, Shraddha, if I have to sum up what you have said, is that firstly, if the Big Four exposure obviously makes a lot of difference even in post of your career, I mean, post you qualify also. Then you also mentioned that, yeah, it is necessary and a bit challenging to manage your studies along with the long working hours, which probably is on a larger part of the tenure of your articleship when it is with Big Four. It gives you a global exposure or global practice exposure on a larger scale, that is, we can say. And also that the challenges where it lies mainly is in order to have a set balance between your curricular achievement and completion of the course along with your learnings as a part of this big course. So I think this is where you need to have this perfectly blended, I mean, manage this blend very well in order to ensure that the course is done on time, and also your this experience is which you're getting is of a internationally acclaimed firm, so that will make a lot of difference. So I think this is where you try to put it across. So I think it was very well put, Shraddha. uh, Now I think so the thing is that we also have Mayank, who will be joining us on industrial training. I just wish to check, Mayank, are you there right now online? Otherwise, the third speaker is going to be me, so maybe I'll pitch in and then Mayank can join in.
Okay,
All
thank
right,
you for
so
having me here.
yeah,
I'll sign off now. All the best to
thank you so much,
whoever's
Shraddha, for giving
appearing
your
for their
time.
exams and articleship. May you get what you want, and may you get all the success that you wish for. Bye bye.
Thank you, Shraddha. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And Shraddha, just a request, if you could stay around for the questions which you would be there at the end, maybe if you have time, obviously, and maybe you can just stay signed in.
Sure, I can stay back. Unless there's a limit on the number of videos that can be put on. No, right? That's
Yeah, maybe you can just join in, and we'll add you passively once the questions are coming up. Then I'll add you back. Maybe that is how we
all
can
right.
go
That
about it.
works for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, friends. So, very good evening, all of you. Jai Hind. This is Omkar, and yeah, because many of you have been with me in Mensa as well. So, yeah, we have. I'm in the capacity of a speaker as well as the host today. So, I am going to discuss specifically the articleship experience with a mid-sized firm. Okay. Now, is there a particular reason why I joined a mid-sized firm after my articleship? Is that mainly I just wanted to be a bit, I mean, I was a bit curious about this fact that whether I would be in a position to manage my studies with the long hours in the big fours. That was my primary point to note. It's not that in the mid-sized firm you don't really have long working hours in the season time, especially in the tax seasons. Like currently, you have income tax returns filing, then you will have the tax audits, then you will have the GST annual returns and reconciliation filings, and all the long the seasons keep continuing for the various. I mean, for the different sort of. I mean, the different work that is there for us. We have all these things going on. So what happens is that in a mid-scale firm, the number of rather the areas of work that you're able to cover is quite wide enough, because of the reason that since the resources are not too much in number, the departmentalization doesn't really exist per se in a big four firm, right, like a big four firm. So we have the large scale work, I mean large scale workings on all areas of practice. So maybe if your firm is catering to direct tax, indirect tax, audit, internal audits, bank audits, cooperative audits, then of course you are going to have a rollover in all these departments, and you get to learn something each out of it. So like even like Shraddha said, that if you are into the specific niche area of practice or one area of practice, obviously you are going to stick to only that. If you are working in a mid-scale firm, my experience was like the day when I entered, the first work I did was depositing a check in the bank account. And when I had my last day of articleship after 3.5 years, because at my time it was 3.5 years of tenure, the last time when I worked in the office, I was finalizing an audit. So right from depositing the check into the bank and up to finalization of audit, it was the entire journey, including the work on income tax returns. That time we didn't have GST, we had VAT and service tax to a certain extent, excise to a certain extent. So we got to work on all those areas. Currently also, because I am also right, like sir mentioned in the beginning, that I'm also a practicing chartered accountant. So I have specifically been practicing more in indirect taxes, because that is my niche area of practice or core area of practice. But yeah, in the firm, once you have the clients who are onboarded with you and they don't really want you to be serving them with only one or two specific areas, then as a part of mid-scale firm, it is your duty and obligation to really cater to all sorts of work which can come up to you. Yeah, the advantages side is that okay, you get to have exposure of everything a bit. I'm not saying that okay, you will become a specialist per se as a part of your 3 years of articleship. Yeah, there will be a learning in each and every area. That is how you actually get to get some stronger material out of it. So that is how my mid-skill articleship experience was precisely about the work. As far as the timings is concerned, like I said, apart from the tax seasons, there will be no much of a stretching of timing. It will be standard 10 to 7 or 10 to 6:30, and maybe Saturday. Some firms have a half day. Big fours will have that advantage of, generally the advantage of weekend off, Saturday, Sunday off. Now, particularly in our firm right now, I have a half day policy on Saturday, and Monday to Friday is a full day's work. So that is where it will generally hover around. Of course, subject to and with the policies which each and every firm has. Now, when you have to learn all these areas, like I said, that you have all the areas of work, of course, what is necessary is that even as an article, your emphasis should not be more on working. I'm not saying that it should be only on working, rather, it should be a blend of learning plus working, because you need to learn as well as work. And only then your articleship will really give you an enriching experience, because the moment you're qualified with your articleship experience, you enter the practical world. And when you enter the practical world, you will not be really going to be asked questions like, okay, you give me the exemption limits on the income tax, or you give me this, etc. This is not some sort of an academic question people will ask. They will expect you to step in on a practical front. Okay, if they are not going to ask you by registration limit GST के अंदर कितना है, they would be more interested, okay, if I have a scenario that GST return is to be filed, how to declare this particular thing, this sort of a practical question. Of course, when you qualify and when you go for your interviews, they are going to ask you only on the basis of your background in the articleship. It never happens that if you're not having a background in a particular area, you'll be asked some random questions. It doesn't really happen in industry also. But yeah, what makes a lot of difference is, are you fundamentally well equipped when you're doing your articleship? It is really, really important. And that's why I say that reading the law and working on the law is the perfect necessity which is there. If you do just work but you don't read the law, then your working per se will not make a huge difference once you step into the industry. And that is why when you're working, let's say for example you're working on GST law, so unless you know what you're putting in the returns, merely filing of returns is not of any help to you. So just try to remember that articleship, be it in any of the scale of firms, it may be smallest or it may be the largest, if you work only as a part of execution but there is no knowledge base to that, that work will not really count once you qualify. Yeah, your employer at that time probably is going to be driven around because his work is getting delivered, but there will be a time when you yourself will have a setback of that, because you have only worked but you don't really have the background knowledge of that work, so that will hamper. So I have always tried to also communicate in my all my communiques or even in my lectures around that fundamentals cannot be left aside. Fundamentals have to be kept strong, and in any area of work you do. And like, it is a choice to be made whether to go to the big four. Yeah, a lot of students have a question that okay sir, big four में stipend ज्यादा मिलता है, so big four में क्यों नहीं जाना चाहिए? So right, so stipend, primarily let me tell you that stipend is a money amount which is given to you as a reimbursement of your expenditure because you're incurring on behalf of the employer because you're going to the office and coming back every day. So then you will say that okay, then expenditure same hota hai, then why there is a disparity in the stipend? So that is because of the place at work where you are working. They have obviously a right to decide how much stipend is to be paid to you. But nowadays, a lot of students come when they come for the articleship interview, they ask me a question. So stipend कितना मिलेगा? Then they'll ask a question, sir, outstation audits कितना है? बाहर नहीं जाने मिलेगा तो where will I do my outstation audit? So see, outstation audit is not some different audit. Outstation audit is just that your client is located in a place where your firm is not located. So it's just that you get to do the same work just by going some to a different place. Maybe you visit their factory, maybe you visit their warehouses or godowns or anything like that. So outstation audit is one sort of a craze, I will say, which always runs over the mind of the students. And वो क्या है, the associated factors that people say, ah, I had seen the Insta story, outstation audit पे आके वो लोग मजा करते हैं, घूमने जाते हैं. See, that is just a byproduct. That cannot be the focus area for deciding, okay, I want to have a outstation audit. Then stipends, like I said, yeah, sometimes we have to really appreciate that there are situations where students are not in a position to, pay off for their day-to-day expenditure because of some specific reasons, or back in family, they need to help the family as well. In such cases, you should definitely keep it as a part of criteria, but just remember that that should not be your determinative criteria for taking up the articleship decision. Practically, if you have certain challenges, yes, you can accommodate that as well when you're discussing with the principal, but at least approach the principal or whomsoever you're going for articleship. Tell them that, okay, I am willing to ask you about the stipend because I have certain background behind. That gives a different impression vis-a-vis when you go and say that oh, stipend kitna milega. That is very true. Next, also, yeah, because I had to also speak on how you should go to the interviews and shortlist the firms and etc. First of all, wherever you go, by whichever means you go through ICI, articleship placement campuses, or you go directly by approaching through some references, when you're going for an articleship, expected scenario is that you should be going in a formal dress code, in a well dressed code, not by wearing some tone jeans or some funky t-shirts, because see, it is the beginning of your professional career to a next level. So you should at least ensure that physically, mentally also you're in that mind space where you're going and approaching the person with whom you wish to work, or you have a probability of working in that firm. At least you should be approachable to that person also. He should not feel that okay, some random student has come for some TY signing of journals or something like that. So that should not be your approach. In fact, I really find no shame in admitting that in my firm particularly, there is a rule that there are no tone jeans allowed. There are no threaded and shredded jeans allowed. That is my policy in the firm, because I feel that you need to maintain that dignity of the profession also, dignity of the positions also, and that is how you should be, going a bit stricter when it comes to that. I'm not saying that okay, every day you should be in very appropriate formals and all coats and suits, not necessarily that way, but then yeah, you should be having an appearance which is, definitely, which is where the office environment is also felt when you are there sitting. Yeah, Friday casuals are fine, Saturday sometimes t-shirts are fine, but yeah, these are some standard etiquettes that you need to maintain. When you go to the client's place, then a lot of people have the approach made by the clients, and the clients who are even client, or the staff of the clients who are elder to you by say 20 years, 30 years, they'll also refer to you as sir or madam. That is to respect the shoes in which you are at that point in time, because you are an article assistant of a chartered accountancy firm. But that does not give you the right to maybe be rude to them sometimes, or maybe you just feel that okay, privileged enough that okay, since that person, that sir or that madam is calling me sir and madam, so I can ride over them. So that is also something that needs to be taken care of, that okay, yeah, you feel good, you really feel that okay, I'm getting called as sir or madam at the age of 19 or 18, but that is just to give respect to your position. At the same time, counter respect is also supposed to be given by you. So you need to keep certain things in mind, using assets of the firm, using assets of your clients, whether you should use them properly, recklessly. So that sometimes it happens that okay, because ये मेरा नहीं है तो मैं कैसा भी use कर सकता हूँ. That is also something that needs to be, really kept in mind, that okay, you have to be vigilant enough that since it is not my property, it's my client's property, I need to also take care of it as if it is my own asset, so these are certain points that you should keep in mind when you're at that particular juncture. And lastly, I would also mention one particular point that, yeah, so there are a lot of instances. See, when we are articles, as a student, I would say that okay, there's an element of this musti and then this thrill and fun, something to do that okay, you're going to Satara for an audit, which is closer to Mahabaleshwar. तो ठीक है यार, weekend आ रहा है, उधर से आउटस्टेशन ऑडिट पे घूम के आते हैं महाबलेश्वर, इधर उधर जाके आते हैं. So all these things should be really avoided. These plans should be avoided because they are not a part of planned audit when you're going there. So your elements of fun cannot be having in a coupled plan with your articleship, or with your articleship when you're doing it. So per se, at that time, it is important that you stay only where you have been sent. You stay only for the purpose for which you have been sent. So these are certain points, which we have also obviously learned from experiences. We have heard experiences. Yeah, that time, because our age is particularly because see, we don't get to do college stuff, we don't get to do BCom masti and all these things हम लोग को नहीं करने मिलता, which is a bit unfortunate. So all that all that excitement and energy needs to be poured out somewhere. That is what happens. So students end up doing some plans, maybe post office. See, once you're out of the office hours, it is obviously your decision what you want to do, where you want to go. That is completely your choice. But when you're on a deputed audit, that time you cannot make plans between that. So this is something that really need to take care of. And irrespective of wherever you're doing the articleship, whether it is in small firm, big firm, or mid-sized firm, these are certain things that make a lot of difference. Yeah, and as it was also rightly pointed out by Shraddha, that studies cannot be, kept secondary when you're doing your articleship. A lot of students get driven in that flow that okay, थोड़ा बहुत पैसा मिल रहा है, 5-10 हज़ार आपके लिए बहुत हो जाता है ये point पे. So it should not go into your head that okay, I am getting money which is sufficient for my own expenses, for on my own Barista, Starbucks bills and all etc. So I should be really doing not much great than what I can. It is okay if I don't do anything more after the office hours etc. But unfortunately, that is not how it works. After your office hours, 1 hour, 2 hours, wherever you have to give that first self study, because you have classes also, you have articleship also. I know it's an insane. I really call it as an insane sort of a schedule, or it is a erratic schedule. But that is what actually creates the toughness in us as chartered accountants. That you're learning to deal with that erratic schedules at that point in time in your age, and of course, subject to all the fun that you can obviously do on some specific days, weekends, etc. In your routine days, it is articleship, office, homeworks, classes, self-study. This is how your day should go. Generally, this 3.5 to 4 years of span would set things right for a longer time. In fact, what happens, unfortunately, sometimes people who are not in a position to clear maybe, or they clear late, they find it very difficult then, because they spend those years in doing some random fun, and then they realize that okay, now it is a bit too late to cope up with my friends or cope up with the degree, etc. The energy, enthusiasm, zeal that you have at this age is unmatched, unparalleled. So it needs to be something that should not be wasted at all, and that should be channelized very properly. So those who are my students, they already know that I hail from a science background and I had to switch over to the commerce background. So obviously I told you that, that same 16, 17-year-old boy may be having some thoughts in his mind, or girl may be having thoughts in her mind that I would like to do this, that, etc. But ultimately you should be driven to your goal which you set. So I think this is what is also more relevant. So yeah, articleship is going to be the most thrilling time of your life, let me tell you. It'll be very enriching experience gaining you. For me, because I run a mid-sized firm, because I did my articleship in a mid-sized firm, I should also not miss that I worked with a big four. I worked with a big four for 2 years almost. I worked as a manager when I resigned from the big four and started off my own firm. So yeah, I do got the experience of working with an international MNC firm after my qualification. In fact, after 5 years of my qualification. So it is definitely a learning experience in whichever type of organization you go. In fact, only one type of organization that I have not worked with is industry. So in fact, I'm looking forward to listen it from Mayank also, that how is his experience been in the industry also. And I'm also happy to note that Mayank has also joined us now. So from me, that's it, friends, for the while. We'll be holding on for the time. Let Mayank also complete his discussion with you, and then we'll keep it open for the questions to be asked. So thank you so much for listening me. Have a great time ahead, and let's hand it over to Mayank, and yeah, we'll be hanging around. Thank you so much. Yes, Mayank, please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So very warm evening to everyone present here, and thank you, Shiva sir, for having me. It's indeed a pleasure to join and mentor these students of venture classes. So to start with, very quickly, I'll introduce myself. I'm a chartered accountant. I'm working with CIPLA. It's been 5.5 years now. I completed my chartered accountancy in May 2016. I had a 3-year stint with Tata Steel, and it's been 2.5 plus years now with CIPLA. Right. So now let's get to know why industrial training. Right. So let me set the context for you. I did my industrial training from ITC Limited in corporate finance and planning team, and trust me, I cherish every bit of it. Right. So again, back to the same question: why industrial training? Right. So to answer that, my hypothesis is, why not? Because see, you are in an age or in a timing of your career is such wherein you should explore. All guns out, right? So take every opportunity that is coming your way. Plus, see, you have any which way served probably 2 years of stint in your articleship as a as an audit lead, or maybe first year you sort of spend into training, and then you sort of start leading the entire audit exercise, right? So why not get a fair bit of flair or the flavor of industry? Because the industry works in a very different way, and it's poised that way. So getting to know the nuances every industry has, getting to know the industry a bit better, I think it's a great choice also from a career standpoint, right? So you also get to work with very seasoned professionals, right? That's the main advantage that you get. Plus, I think on top of everything, you also get to decide which stream to choose, right? So maybe when I took up industrial training, right, I joined industrial training just to explore myself, and we are in that stage during that I would say during that time of our career wherein we can afford making mistakes. So when I joined ITC as a industrial trainee, my thought was I just wanted to look at things from a different lens. How would corporate finance fit into my long term planning, right? Because I've seen a part of audit. Now I want to see a part of industrial training also, and take up corporate finance. So forecasting, budgeting, is it really exciting? Does this nuances sound exciting to me? Corporate benchmarking, you generally don't get to do that in your normal stream of audit, I would say, right? And it is vastly different from the books of accounts that you handle and the management accounting that you handle. So it's basically the management reporting which is handled by corporate finance, or maybe you take up any stream in industrial training, right? It can be in a taxation department. I think the main motive is to get to know what you want, and it's completely okay. End of the day, if you realize it's not my cup of tea, I think that's a super realization. At least you'll not waste your years going forward when you're a seasoned professional, right? And you have, I think that thing within you sorted, that I want to be a tax professional. Corporate finance maybe is not my cup of tea, or maybe take up corporate finance and understand that treasury, taxation, audit is not my cup of tea, right? So pick up any stream, experiment. I would say you've done audit, get into some other stream in industrial training. It's a plus. On top of everything, I would also like to add, once you qualify chartered accountancy, right, it will always come in handy. This is definitely going to be a cherry on the cake, a feather in your cap. So please take up if you get an opportunity and explore yourself. And the entire motive here, I think, students is to understand what you want, what you don't want. Now, see, the mentors here, frankly, are not here to sway your thoughts. right? But just to give you the pros and cons, what's there on the table, because to be fair to everyone, we have been through that journey, right? So like Shraddha has been there, she's done her articleship from Big Four. My friend, he briefed you about having experience from mid-sized firm, and I'm here to take you through as to what happens in an industrial training setup if you choose to take that up, right? I think on the precautionary side, I would just bring it out that let's not be very swayed with the perks that are attached to taking up industrial training, and it might sound very glossy, and if someone is saying I'm an industrial trainee with ITC, I mean I've not hit the ball out of the park, frankly. So it is just the learning that you take out from the entire tenure, from the entire stint, end of the day. That is what it counts in the long run. Right? I think instead of keeping this as a monologue, I would want to take up questions.
Yeah, that will be really great. I think
Yeah.
the students, it's one of the very rare occasions that you are getting three different perspectives, and that is always a question in everyone's mind. So you can ask question, and as they are so clear about what they have done, and so I think your questions will make it more clear from your perspective, because when we say
I would say
we
please
always
bombard
think we
us with the
bring
questions.
because the speaker always feels that I have done my best. So, and we love talking, so we'll keep talking. So please ask your question. We'll be more happy to answer that. Don't say there is no question. Huh?
I think everyone's clear in their head what they want to do. They don't need
Yeah,
this
so
session.
nice. Oh, they don't need the session, that's different, but I think you all have put in things so very nicely that it has cleared all their doubts, whatever they must be having. And as I shared with all three of you, when we as teachers whom they know for the last 3-4 years, so when we say certain things, they have a typical mindset about us. ये तो ऐसे ही है, ये तो खड़ूस ही है, ये तो हमेशा पढ़ाई की बात करेगा, ये तो कभी भी बोलेगा बिग फोर ही जाना चाहिए, या उनका माइंड सेट है नहीं ये तो हमेशा ही बोलेगा सेफ रहना चाहिए, ट्रेन से भी ट्रैवल नहीं करना चाहिए. So they have typical mindset about every professor. So I think there is a question. Is there any difference in time period for articleship and industrial training?
No. The total tenure is same.
And for how many months? I think the question is for how many months you can do industrial training and how many months you have to do normal.
So I think it's minimum 9 months, max 12 months. I mean, that's the norm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Amog, I hope that answers it. So out of that 3 years of your total articleship, minimum 9 months, maximum 12 months, you can do industrial training. Good. Okay. Does any of your, I think I'll ask some question on their behalf. Ajay, there is one more question. Is there any difference between Big Four and top 10 CA firms?
Interesting question, I think. Can I take that question?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So, I mean, I think a lot of us, when we embark on the articleship journey, we are worried about that tag. Top 10, Big Four, mid-size, think of what you want to do. That's the key of, that should be your key thought process. I understand that, when we are in college, we like the jazz, we like the marquee stuff, but do a little bit of introspection and think what you really want to do. And do it anywhere. It doesn't matter. As long as you, 3 years down the line, after your articleship, you shouldn't feel that, what did I do? I wasted 3 years. I think that's the last thing you want to have in your mind. Think about what you want to do. Even if it's a small firm, if it's a big firm, whatever it is, keep your interests ahead of everything else.
Perfect. Give your best and take it as a learning experience rather than making schemes every day how I should not work or how I should fool the people around. Agreed. If anybody wants to add something, Omkar sir or Mayank, and anybody wants to add something, you can do that.
Yeah, I think I concur with what Shraddha said. It is more that it's like I said, it's more like a LinkedIn and Instagram thing to flash that they want to just, they are so excited to just put that post. I've started articleship with KPMG or Deloitte or EY. That is what some makes them think that it looks very bright on your profiles. So a bit of the social media thing makes a lot of impact of all these things nowadays, because as much as I remember, in fact, I will not say that we were less aware about the big fours when we chose to do the article. So it was just that we decided that okay, where you want to go depends on what, as Shraddha rightly mentioned, that what you really want to gain out of this articleship, how much long stride you're ready to take. Sometimes people after 1 year of articleship in a smaller firm, they can also choose to go and take a transfer to a bigger firm, or if they want to a different firm on secondment also they can go. So that is not something which is, there is nothing that precludes them from going to any larger size of the firm at point in time. Yeah, there are certain limitations in the articleship rules for taking transfer, but yeah, if they feel that they have exhausted learning everything in the first year, which is very unlikely in any sort of a firm, then that is how it will depend to make a choice in the firms. But yeah, it's more a branding which makes a lot of impact on the minds.
One question like which we normally get, like, does your future like planning of whether to take up a corporate job or to practice or go abroad or study further at a big IIMs or MBA degree from any place, does that planning and this articleship with Big Four, mid-sized or small-sized firm, is there any correlation between that, or does this part have any strategy of I want to do an MBA or from IIM, or go abroad for studies or do a corporate job, or I have my own practice? That and this, any connections or no connections?
I don't think there's any connection. And Shraddha, maybe you can add, you've been a part of Big Four. I'm sure you'd have your friends who are studying outside or, pursuing a great career in having a great stint in corporate life. Omkar, maybe I'm sure you would have friends who would have done articles from a mid-sized firm and are doing great in life. And when I say all of this, trust me, I have a lot of friends. I myself am coming from a mid-sized firm. Doesn't really matter.
Okay.
I think good people, it's about how you carve your career path.
They find their way out. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll always figure something out for yourself.
Can we change the firm in the articleship period? Swagata is asking this question.
Up to 1 year you can. After that, then those criteria of transfers will apply, that it has to be beyond 50 or 60 kilometers. There have to be some specific reasons for transfer. Up to 1 year, there is a exit option available to change the firm.
Great.
But my only advice is that don't make the decision of changing the firm because you think that your friend's firm gives more parties on weekends. Because in the first year you don't actually learn anything. First 6 months are just going in understanding what happens every day over here when you come and go. So first year is in fact just a trainee experience.
I think also to add to what Omkar sir is saying out here, that generally when you join an organization, you take a little bit of time to adapt to their culture also. So that is, let's say gestation period is roughly 3 to 6 months. And after that is when you actually start, start taking up assignments on your own. You start, your learning curve starts catching speed. So in my opinion, make a wise decision when you choose your firm in the first go. Changing unless absolutely necessary, and that's inevitable. Obviously, if you really want to do it, you can do it, but take a very informed decision at the beginning of your articleship itself.
Yagnik is having a question. In articleship interview, can we directly ask what area in which we want to have more exposure or such thing? But in the interview, you will ask, okay, I want more exposure in tax, or I want more exposure in audit. Is such questions allowed?
So, sir, I've been handling these questions when students come to me for interviews. So they have, yeah, they do have this question that will I get to do direct tax? Will I? Some people come with a more filtered information. Will I get to do due diligence? So generally, I tell them that start coming to the office, see what is direct tax. If you are asking due diligence, first see what is due diligence. You see all sides of the work, what is there in this firm. I'm not saying that it may be one single firm, any firm. And then you choose as and how you work on that, because only then you will actually understand when you are saying that I want to work in direct tax, whether you really know what is direct tax, because all what you have learned is only five heads of income and deductions when your intermediate papers. So when it comes to practical application, so like for me, it used to happen in my in all my CA career. I used to like financial management a lot. I scored exemptions in all my levels in FM. But the moment I came to work, I never knew, I was not never aware that okay, tax is going to be my only forte for work, because that developed as in how I kept working all along. So academic interests may not necessarily align with work interest when you actually put it to practical perspective. So that is how it changes more or less. Yeah,
After
it's not that you're
CA,
not allowed to ask, but yeah, you should ask it in a more modest manner. That what rather you can put it as what areas of work would I get an exposure of, and when I'm there in this firm. That would be a more good question to ask, is what I feel.
after CA, what to prefer, industrial sector or CA firms?
Yes, Shraddha can answer this.
I think everyone wants us to make career decisions for them out here. Honestly, look, hold on. After CA, let's take that decision after you clear, because at that point of time, you'll have a different perspective than what you have right now.
Perfect.
So don't rush. Take it easy. I'm sure you have a lot on your plate in these 3 years. When you commence your articleship, you'll understand how your skill set is, what you're good at, what you don't like. And eventually after that, you can take a decision. Trust me, people will do, if you like what you do and if you go with the right attitude, you will do well wherever you go.
Correct.
It's not that you can attain success only if you're a big four partner or you become a CFO of a company. Okay, what if someone doesn't want to become the CFO? What if someone wants to diverse into some other field? It's okay. Don't decide everything what you want to do right now. Take one step at a time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anything else like?
So just one point to that, whether you want to choose between industrial side or the consulting side. So with there, I would say that, okay, you are choosing the opposites at that time, because if you're going to the consulting side, then you are the one who is going to be the auditor. And if you're going to be into the industry, you are going to be on the auditees side. So if you really want to if you feel that as a part of your articleship, you have got a limited experience of both the sides, for me, the honest thing to share is that for the first 5 years after your qualification, you're really going to take time to actually land up in a place where you're going to be there for lifelong.
Correct.
So it is going to be, it is okay to actually have an exposure of both in maybe in a stint of 2.5 to 3 years in both. Then maybe you can decide for yourself. That is what my take is.
Totally
Perfect.
agree. I think unless you try something, you will never know. So try it out.
Correct.
And this
Correct.
qualification gives you so much leverage. You can jump from industry to big four to whatnot. I mean, which qualification gives you so much flexibility? So it's all your hard work that gives you this. So enjoy it after you clear.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's a super confidence. Thank you very much. I think that was really a good, a very impactful sentence. Which qualification gives you so much flexibility? That's a motivation to complete your CA and start doing it without any confusions. Thank you. Thank you very much, Shraddha. Thank you very much to be on board. And thank you, Omkar sir. Thank you, Mayank. I think Mayank is having some net issues. So thank you all of you. And thank you for all those students who have joined. I hope it has benefited you. And we'll put that and share this in YouTube also, the recorded session. So it benefits and keeps benefiting all of the current students as well as the prospective students. Thank you. And I'm really grateful that one call and you all come on board. So I'm super, super grateful. And that too on a Guru Purnima day. Thank you very much. And nothing, I think students can't ask for more than this. Those who are doing CA at least. So thank you. Bye, Shraddha. Bye, Omkar. Bye, Mayank sir.
Thank you.
See you all. Good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night, sir. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. It
Bye.
was
Bye,
a
Shraddha.
pleasure. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.